Hey guys, what up? Van Show episode 3. Today I just kind of wanted to talk about kind of how I've sort of grown on this trip, because as I've been going along, driving along the US, I've been starting to realize, the person who I once was and how I'm changing and the the things I was doing before that were, causing me to feel not as good as I am today. And a big change, probably the biggest overall that kind of started my whole self help journey, was working on my optimism. Now, I'm not perfect, I'm not honestly that good, but, you know, even though I screw up a lot, I always make sure to get back up when I'm knocked down. I always try. And there's I'd say the tragedy of so many people that you just kind of see walking down the street and just I'd say the majority of people out there these days is that, they don't see much of a reason to get back up, try again, or to sacrifice themselves for something greater, And I'd say that the end result of all this negativity is it gets sort of baked into your soul, and that in turn will start to slow down your progress to be to be the best version of yourself that you can be. And genuine human connection starts to fade into a forgotten relic of a better time when you just don't carry that same positivity. I think a big reason that, there's this sort of overarching negativity to just American society and a lot of other Western countries is that, risks aren't really being taken as much anymore. Everything these days is sort of this saccharine, sweet, family friendly type of, you know, thing where a lot of people aren't saying the more controversial things anymore because, you'll get, if you're a comedian and you say the wrong things, you'll have all kinds of people going after you, and then you'll get deplatformed and, all that, all the cancel culture crap. And, conflict is seen as this end to a relationship when, you know, really all that conflicts are is they're just hurdles. They're things to be overcome, problems to be worked through, because at the end of an issue, whether it be between a group of people or just two, once you figure things out and get through that, that's how you get closer. You know, that's how you get in touch with your soul and all that. And I just get a lot of feeling that, there's so much hostility from a perspective of and it's going to sound kind of weird, but from going to different cities, every night in this van, I have to find somewhere to park and that feels safe so I can rest my head and all that. And, you know, some places they have this sort of hostility to them where it's not apparent like a big sign out there that says go away or something like that. It's just kind of it's a vibe to a place that you sort of feel. And, I started to realize that there is a lot of that out there. And I do think that it is a lot in part to do with the fact that people don't talk as much anymore. People don't face the difficult ideas or situations as much as they did, back when they had to in World War II, when there was this question of what are the Nazis? Why do they pose this existential threat to America type thing? Whereas now, we don't we don't face those same questions. We don't have people, going through these big projects or wars or all that. And it's this lack of catharsis, this lack of honesty that, I mean, it weighs heavy on the heart of everyone. And the unfortunate thing is, I don't know that a lot of people out there understand how to deal with this, how to deal with the fact that people are being caged like a bird and not able to express themselves, even if it's wrong, even if it's problematic or whatever the heck, And for me at least, it's why I try, in all aspects of my life. I make sure that I don't give up. Because the time I've been blessed with on the earth, it's too precious for me to sit around and fester and, not try to resolve the conflicts in my life. So, it's why I'll take one more step when my legs are ready to give out, because I want to know how strong I can be, It's why I'll tell someone I love them even when it's hard, because the feelings are true. And to not speak that truth in your heart, it leaves a stain on your soul otherwise, that you can't come to terms with a lot of stuff unless you speak it out into the world and hear another opinion, or work through a conflict with someone you really care about. I see a lot of inauthentic people out there who just are that way because they've been forced into a box through fear. It's like you can sort of feel it when you talk to people these days. If you say something that edges on that territory of being controversial, you'll hear in the tone of people's voice they want to say something more, but they're afraid to, because there's all this nastiness out there that's propagated through social media that just, it makes people scared to speak up, because there's countless examples of terrible things that have happened for people that are just accused of being a fascist or some other, random bad thing, right? Like there was a guy in Portland last year who was executed at point blank range because he was wearing a MAGA hat, right? That speaks to a really deep-rooted problem that it's not going to get fixed by, splitting apart the country or having some kind of civil war, as so many people like to talk about. The only way to get past it is by getting off your high horse and meeting on common ground and just saying, like, what is the real problem here? And I think one of the really big problems that we're facing right now is the fact that every single thing put out by the mainstream media is hyper-sensationalized fear porn, essentially. Like, just scroll through a bunch of headlines and you see pretty quickly just how much, things like New York Times, MSNBC, how much they really revel in all the doom and gloom that they can put out there. Because there's a saying in journalism that if it bleeds, it leads, right? Where people aren't interested in man did the right thing, good outcome happened, right? More often than not, the thing that gets the clicks and the views is the thing that says, oh my gosh, everything's screwed. Because eliciting an emotional response, it's just part of the way people work. we respond to things that make us feel. And it's this sort of bastardization by the media to play on people's fear that has honestly ruined a lot of people out there. It's ruined their feelings of hope, their feelings of longing for something better, because all they're bombarded with day in, day out is the planet's dying, the government's collapsing, there's hidden Nazis everywhere. We're all doomed. The food you're eating is bad. Your neighbors are terrorists. It's all this negativity that just is not true. You know, there's always a silver lining. And you know, maybe it's just the fact that social media being what it is, it's always going to play into that emotional response. If it bleeds, it leads type stuff. But like, I mean, there's gotta be some real change here, or it's only going to get worse. And hey, I really don't blame the majority of people out there who, when met with all of this nasty negativity, just kind of, you know, I'm done, you know? Because it's very hard in a world where everyone's running off the edge of a cliff to be the one to say, hey, I'm going the other way, you know? And it's just, it's really not that bad, you know? If you want proof of this, then just look at the whole climate change argument, right? For anyone out there that's around my age, I'd be willing to bet you have no clue that the headlines that are being written today are pretty much copy-pasted exactly from what they were like 70 years back, right? It has been decades and decades of, you know, scientists being paid to say crap, this doom and gloom that like, oh my gosh, if we don't engage in some massive authoritarian new deal, we're all gonna die in 10 years. It's really not the case. Look at the geological record of the planet. We know that the average temperature we're seeing right now is not even close to how hot the average temperature has been. We know that the Earth has been through things like ice ages, solar flares, the magnetic poles swapping. You've had volcanoes, you've had all kinds of natural disasters that happen every day. And this idea that, you know, a century of carbon emissions is the nail in the coffin that's going to end the planet, when we know that, like, life finds a way. It really does. Now, things like pollution, plastic, and our environmental footprint are incredibly important things to work on, but the fact still remains that, like, you look at the data for like carbon emissions in the United States. If that's a metric that you think is a concern, right? We have been improving on that. Now, the rest of the world, like China and India, that's another story. But, you know, there is still that good to focus on. That if there's this issue, there is a lot of proof already that, you know, we can make this change. And, you know, maybe there's truth to the fact that the damage we've done in many ways will be irreversible. But luckily for us, nature is built to adapt, to handle things, to forgive in a way. So it's just about being mindful, you know? Be mindful of these things. I mean, if we are all going to die tomorrow, then why not try and stop it? You know? If you're given this time, it's only wise to make use of it, I guess, right? So then go back to what I was saying about, all the negativity that's being put out there in social media by places like MSN, all that mainstream media stuff, right? It's there's an important thing that I don't think a lot of people realize, is that it's called TV programming for a reason. And it's because every single piece of media you consume, every article, every TV show, every song, all of those have a net impact on your subconscious. So if you aren't filling your subconscious with things that are positive, things that are uplifting, things that encourage you to build, there is no way that you're going to overcome the negativity that you've put inside of yourself. That's one of the things that I've come to learn in the past year. That's one of the things I've been trying really hard to change, is to make sure everything I'm, taking in is just as positive as everything I want to put out. If you're in the sort of position where you feel like, where you feel like you're a pessimist, you feel like everything's overwhelming, there's so much bad out there, then what I would tell you to do is, stop giving people with nothing positive to say even a second of your time. Because they're just going to keep that ball of negativity rolling and collecting even more. The only way to stop that is to turn around and just say, you know what? I'm going to look for that silver lining. Because at the end of every single day, it's up to you to decide what it is that you deserve. And it's hard at first to go from a place of, low self-esteem to be able to say, I deserve better. But it just takes that single step to say, you know what? I feel like crap right now. Maybe I deserve a nice day, It takes that step to get the ball rolling in the other direction. And like I said, it's up to you to try to find that silver line that's going to pull you to shore or drown in all the negativity that's out there. The only real certainty here is that if you're not going to even try to look for it or make yourself better, you will never find it. The arms of corruption have coated every single aspect of politics the whole world over, and not many people understand this or even want to admit it. But there's not going to come meaningful change through just voting or convincing your friend to vote for a different political party. It's just not true, because modern politics it's all about money. That's all it is. It's just corporations with lobbyists and, opinions that are bought and paid for. It's very easy to see from the way these politicians act that it's mostly just about leveraging power over political adversaries more than it is actually helping people in need. The people in political offices might pretend like they care, but I promise you, it's all theater, because, quite simply put, if they gave a shit, there would at least be an attempt to fix many of these problems. And another thing people have to face in this regard is that the issues in your life are never going to be dealt with unless you take ownership of them and try to have some control. A vote is little more than just checking a box next to the person you're blaming all your problems for. And listen, I'm not made of answers, so don't come to me looking for some perfect solution to all this. What I'm just trying to do is pointing out the fact that, there are some really big problems that we're facing. And it's not going to be easy, and it's definitely not going to come from the joke administration in Washington, D.C., or any political administration for that matter. Because the simple fact is, politicians at the height that, at the size of power they wield, simply have too much to care about for your issues. So they're not going to get dealt with unless you're the one that takes action. Like with any meaningful change in your life, it takes a single step, and from there you just have to commit. So if you want to do anything about the negativity, the pain, the hurt in the world right now, then you have to learn to abandon your fear. You have to work on your inner strength, and we're gonna have to work our asses off, knowing that every single step we take, even if we trip, even if we have to take a step back to regain our footing, it's going to be a step closer to a better future. But the thing that has to happen is we have to take that step. And I don't think that step's gonna happen through the means of voting or through the means of government. Because, just look at, we've had decades of politicians. Biden in office right now has spent pretty much 50 years in office. He's not going to change anytime soon. Neither are any of the other career politicians in the swamp. It's going to have to be an individual effort that turns collaborative. It's a dark, dark world out there. But if you want to see a light of positivity, you can be that for yourself and for others. All it takes is to look fear in the face and to say, you know what? I'm gonna try. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain.